Hey everybody, thank you for stopping by Living To Do's review of Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 11, called Back to Our Future. I'm going to start off this review with the girls getting together as a group. They get together as a group and mainly they're just talking about Morgan and Ben's relationship. Morgan feels that Ben has been lying to her, and she tells us to the group. Actually, she said that Alexis said that Ben has been lying to her. And Morgan informed the group of girls that they are now separated, her and Ben. At the same time, the guys are getting together. And again, it's mainly just talk about Ben and Morgan's relationship. And Ben admitted to the guys that he was talking about Morgan behind her back to Justin and lying in her face. And Justin was in the confessional and he spoke on Morgan and Ben's relationship, mainly on Morgan, saying Morgan's not ready for marriage. Ooh, I wonder what Morgan would say to that, because she's such a fighter. And I think she would have words to Justin speaking on how he thinks that she's not ready for marriage. Ben tells the guys, the group of guys, that he lost 7 pounds, that he has been breaking out, and he hasn't been able to sleep. He feels really bad of what happened. And as the guys are talking, the girls decide to ambush the guys' meeting. And so all the girls met at Stasha and Nate's apartment where the guys were hanging out and talking. And again, mainly the talk was about Morgan and Ben's relationship. And Miguel asked what was the breaking point. And she said the lies. He was talking behind her back. No accountability. And Nate asked, what's up with all the hostility? I mean, it just doesn't seem warranted for what happened. We still don't know how big this talk was behind her back. And based on her track record, she blows up at the smallest things. So she has no credibility with me. I'm going to go with whatever Ben says. And no one's saying what it was, and she's not either. It's just, I just don't think it's a big deal. It doesn't seem like a big deal. It just seems really silly. I think Nate tried to reason with Morgan, saying, this is it's an abnormal experience. And basically he's talking to other people experiencing this abnormal experience. But Morgan's not hearing it. She's set in her ways. She wants to be mad, so she's mad. That's basically it. Ben was apologetic. He told her that he signed up for therapy. He has past traumas that he wasn't aware of, that he definitely hasn't healed from. I thought his apology was sincere. I think he feels bad for what he's done, or how he's made her feel anyway. And he wished things could be different. And I think he would be willing to try. He has to recognize if someone's going to act like that towards you, they're not worth, maybe they're just not worth being around. And, if this was a normal experience, she would never be a person he would pick for marriage. Still on Ben and Morgan. They're in their apartment. Actually, Ben is in the apartment, and Morgan comes in there. And it seemed like she just came in, sat down, didn't say anything to him. She's just so stubborn, childlike. And they were meeting in there because Dr. Pepper was going to come to visit. And again, we have to hear Morgan discuss how Ben was talking behind her back. She just can't get past it. I hope she's looking back at this and realize how silly she is. Dr. Pepper gave them an exercise to write a letter to their younger self. And this is an exercise it seems like they do every Married at First Sight season. They do circle back at some point in time back at the apartment to read the letters they have written. So Ben is there first. Again, here comes Morgan, and she sits down next to Ben. Ben reads his letter, and a heartfelt letter. And now it's Morgan's turn. Morgan's not comfortable divulging any personal information about herself to Ben because she feels that Ben's not trustworthy. And she doesn't want to go into any personal details with him. All right, I am officially done with this girl. Please remove her from my sight. That is it on Ben and Morgan. Let's go to Lindy and Miguel. Because not much happened with them. They had a visit with Dr. Pepper, and they put out some cookies for Dr. Pepper, and they appeared to be, I think they were supposed to be maybe like a chocolate chip cookie, but it looked too light. It almost looked like, it looked uncooked, actually. It looked like it was doughy. It looked like not the color of peanut butter, but the color of butter. It looked like butter chocolate chip cookies. I don't know. They were just a mess. Don't eat those. You might get sick. Okay, so in their discussion with Dr. Pepper, Lindy mentioned how she's very defensive. She's insecure and she's not comfortable like in the kitchen. Those are things she didn't really do. And she wants to be a good wife. Miguel seems to be a very good cook though. But Miguel compliments her and he says that she's killing it in the kitchen. Dr. Pepper asked if the couple has told each other that they love each other. And so when she asked that, literally there was just crickets. Nobody said a word. I mean, I really think they're really fond of each other. Just, they could have said, no, we haven't said that yet. But it just seems like, I don't know if it was the editing, but it was a long pause. They had a little activity where they went swing dancing. Now, Lindy wasn't allowed to dance growing up. She was in a very strict religion that her parents followed. There was no dancing. But I thought Lindy did a very good job with the swing dancing. She seemed like she wanted to move. I mean, she wasn't getting her groove on, but she wanted to move. She didn't seem too awkward. They were going a little bit slow, but I think they were learning the steps. And I just think that is just terrible that you weren't able to dance. Her religion, you couldn't dance. You couldn't drink. Now, we see Lindy drinking a lot. She seems to enjoy her drinks. They couldn't have pork and no shellfish. What kind of religion is this? It's almost cult-like. But that is so sad to raise people in something that is so strict and rigid. You're just missing out on so much of life. I mean, I think you can enjoy something. You don't have to overindulge like in drinking and whatnot. But it's so rigid. Just so rigid. It's like growing up in a glass jar and eventually you just get too big for that jar. It's just way too rigid. Lindy and Miguel also had to write a letter to themselves, and Lindy spoke of a lot of pain in her letter. And they also went and saw each other, something about each other past. And so Miguel took Mindy to a place called House of Puerto Rico. Now, I'm not sure if it was in San Diego they have House of Puerto Rico, but it's like it shows you different things about Puerto Rico and pictures and information. And, he explained how he couldn't speak Spanish when he went to Puerto Rico. And then when he was in the States where he lived, him being Puerto Rican was a problem, that thing. They never could fit in type thing. That seems to happen for so many people. But there he said to Mindy that he loved her, and she said it back. And really cute, like when they were embracing each other, he's like, I said it first. So they just really have a cute relationship. I remember him saying something like, it's easy to fall in love with Mindy. They've always been my favorite couple. I know other people don't really think so about them, but I think they're very sweet. They really don't have a lot of bumps in the road. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I've really enjoyed their journey of them getting to know each other, building a foundation, and hopefully, possibly, seemingly falling in love, because that's the whole point of this show. And I've just loved watching their progress. There wasn't a lot of drama, but yet, in the midst of all this crazy drama of Morgan and whatnot, two people were connecting, and I really appreciate that. Okay, the next couple. Okay, the next couple is Kristen and Mitch. Dr. Pepper met with Kristen and Mitch, and Kristen, she really opened up to Dr. Pepper, and she just felt like she was walking on eggshells, being married to Mitch, conforming to his strict ways of living. And she didn't know how he felt about her, if he even appreciated her. I guess he didn't naturally tell her these things. And so Dr. Pepper asked Mitch how he felt about her. And he says he admired her and thought that she was brave. I think it's still kind of surface things. He should give examples of things, exact examples that she could think back on, remember, and maybe see it from his point of view, how he took a situation that they were in, or how he, appreciated her doing the laundry, cleaning the bathroom. Dr. Pepper told Mitch that he is self-righteous when threatened, and Mitch agreed to this. He's listening and he's accepting the criticism of others right off the bat. So I don't know if he's just doing that. I really think he's doing it because he is hearing people, he is listening, and he wants to change, though he is really quick to do it, though. They had an outing where Kristen took him to a softball field where she would play softball, and that was a memory that she had and that she shared with Mitch. Kristen doesn't look like a softball player to me. She doesn't really look athletic to me. I mean, her body, she's very toned. She just doesn't seem like, she doesn't really seem athletic. But anyway, she had Mitch pitching to her, and Mitch, the itch, can't pitch. There's a Dr. Seuss rhyme in there somewhere. He's not athletic at all. He looks more, because I guess I see him as a surfer, that's athletic, an athletic thing to do. But he just didn't, he played baseball when he was younger, but he wasn't good at it then. And he's not really, he can't play this sport very well. And even running, that's another thing I thought he looked funny doing. He actually looked like Forrest Gump running. It was cute. It was funny. Now, Kristen explained her experience with softball as a child, having to be perfect and do very well. Because if she didn't do well, her parents in the car on the ride home would give her a good talking to about softball. Oh my God, it's supposed to be a fun sport, putting all this extra added pressure on her. And she's probably the age group where mothers were scheduling everything for their kids, over scheduling things. She might be a victim of that. Um, she said there was no room for error within her family, and I guess her mother gave her a more of a harder time than the father did. Mitch, he shared that his family life, he had no structure. He got bad grades. He mainly lived with his dad for, I think, from when he was 9 to 14, or, in teenage years. They lived in Sherman Oaks, California, and he was affected by the 1994 earthquake that happened in Northridge. I was affected by that too. And when it happened, his dad was, I guess his dad was coming to look for his boys during that time. He just felt that his dad was a protector. He really seems to have love for his dad. His dad did die in January of 2004, and he had a bunch of pictures his mom kept in a suitcase that he brought over to their house, and he spread out on a bed for them for him to share with Kristen. And he had a picture of his dad. He talked about the divorce, and after the divorce, he started acting differently and becoming angry and closed off. And it just seems like that divorce affected that child up until this child became a man into his 40s even, that he is affected by that. Mitch took Kristen to his father's grave. I think his dad was Stanley Silverstein. Is that Mitch's last name? And then they had a recorded video where he's talking to his dad and kind of introducing Kristen to his dad by the grave. It was just it was a nice moment that they shared. They wrote letters to themselves, and Kristen felt good about her letter. She seems like a person that would journal anyway, and I think she felt good getting it off her chest, writing to her younger self. Mitch wrote to himself, and he mentioned he didn't fit in. He choked up when he read it. In fact, he cried. I think it was a release for him. I think he said he journaled too. But this assignment, this exercise, and to share it with Kristen was a touching moment. It just seems to me, since the wedding and honeymoon, Mitch has been lighter in his presence. He doesn't seem heavy and mean, a heavy presence. It's more of a lighter presence. Even his face is more of a smile, and I think that's Kristen has changed him for the better. I think he's happy with her. After hearing Mitch's story, Kristen was able to release some anger that she was harboring towards him. So it was a win-win for all of them. It was, I think, an assignment that was very useful, especially for Mitch. Okay, the next couple. Okay, the next couple will be Stasha and Nate. Stasha and Nate met with Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper came to their house, and of course she greets everybody. She greets them, and Nate says, "I haven't seen you since you were at my studio." And I thought to myself, studio? You mean like studio apartment? Because what you showed us when we went to visit your home, that wasn't a studio apartment. So I don't know what other studio he could be referring to, which means if this is the case, I didn't watch that episode. He is lying that he stayed in that apartment. And I'm telling you, I don't trust him. I'm going to keep my good eye on him and my third eye, because I don't trust that dude. When people start lying about where they stay in this show, it never turns out well. Remember Christine and her and Henry, and we couldn't even look at her house. And she said she lived downtown, and where she said she lived sounded off to Henry. She didn't really have a place. And remember Matt from one of the other seasons. He didn't even have a place at all. He was a professional basketball player, and all his stuff was in the trunk of his car, and he lived on his friend's couch. The people that don't have places to stay, it's a red flag. They had a discussion. They were talking about how they were having, when they talk to one another, I guess tone might be a problem. It might come off wrong in Nate's case when he's delivering a message to Stasha. So Dr. Pepper suggested that they hold hands when they speak because it helps with the tone. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I like that. Dr. Pepper, she asked them if they consummated their marriage, and Nate answered. He responded and said they did consummate their marriage. Yippee! Congratulations to them. Dr. Pepper asked Stasha if that makes her more secure, and it did, she said. I'm not sure why that in itself would make you feel more secure. Sometimes maybe it wouldn't make you secure. You don't know if the guy really likes you. And there you give up of yourself, and sometimes you wish you hadn't. They had letters to themselves, and Sasha read her letter, and she really kept it positive, just the kind of person that she is. Nate's letter, he gave a lot of great advice to his younger self. I really enjoyed what he had to say. He told Stasha how he wasn't, accepted, coming from, I guess his dad was in the military. They were out of the country, coming back into the country. He didn't fit in. He just didn't fit in anywhere. And he gave an example how, when he went to school in America, I think he was out in California, he wore shorts above his kneecap. And I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, you would get called out on that. That's a very nerdy look. I know it's coming back a little bit now, but that's just this year. Previous years, you had to have your shorts past your knees. It just wasn't cool otherwise. So I can see how he got made fun of. In fact, I would look at him funny too. I know that's wrong, but you're just used to a certain style of dress, and everybody wore shorts, the guys anyway, past their knee. Oh. And if your pants, if they don't go past your ankles and you're flooding, that doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. And I hope that never comes into style. It doesn't look good. Nate took Stasha to his former childhood neighborhood, and he grew up in a very nice neighborhood for a few years. And while they were out there, Joe, Nate's father, came and he joined them. And Stasha's talking to him and commended him on being a single father and how was that for him. And he teared up. He choked up when he talked about it, how people thought he was doing a good job by his kids. And, he says those were his kids and he wouldn't have it any other way. So I think Nate, it was extremely lucky to have a father who didn't drop the ball and just leave those kids. He stayed with those kids, where his mother, a mother who should be nurturing, I don't know what her issue was, if there was a valid reason why she couldn't be there. I don't know what it was, but I thank goodness that Nate had a father that was there. Now, Nate, his father, was a military man, and they don't show emotions, and he raised Nate that way. In their discussion with Stasha and Nate and his father Joe, and they raised with no emotion, and he says he thinks he did a good job, but I don't think he realizes that when you don't allow a person to be a person and to express their emotions, that you're doing a disservice to them. I don't know if he knows that yet, but it was interesting that he cried and he got choked up talking about his children, because at the wedding, he says a military man, they don't cry or whatnot. And that was the first time Nate saw his dad cry. maybe he's a little bit older and a little bit softer, and I don't know, he just got choked up. It was just kind of nice to see him release a little bit, and for Nate to see it. I wonder if that was scared him a little bit, to see his father get choked up with speaking about his children. They hugged. They said that they loved each other. That was just a nice moment. Stasha takes us to her neighborhood, and it wasn't as nice as Nate's neighborhood. She said that's where she was raised with her sister. We saw her sister, and she also mentioned a brother. I don't remember her ever mentioning a brother. I don't think we saw a brother. So she has a brother out there. Stasha and Nate also bonded over the fact that they were both purse sellers. Now, Stasha, doing it the right way, made her purses by hand, a real nice touch on everything, and she sold it to, I guess people in her school or whatnot. Now, Nate, he got a hold of some purses. I'm not sure how, my opinion, the 5-figure discount, and they were fake purses, fake designer purses where he hustled and made money. So it's interesting, they both hustled and made a little money for themselves with purses. Stasha took Nate to the Mentos house. Now, this is a house where she was raised in. Not raised in, but she spent her last year of high school at. And her friend Deanna and her friend's mother Robin and her friend's dad Dave, they lived in Covina. I guess that's where she went to school, and she had all her friends there. And Robin, Deanna's mother, said that it wouldn't be right for Stasha to leave all her friends, and it was the last year of school, and she welcomed Stasha into her home. She had no problem with her living there. Now, her parents, or her mother anyway, I think her mother was remarried at this time, and she moved to the IE, which is like 30 minutes, Covina to the IE, but I think within traffic, it could be probably an hour. So I guess because of that distance and the commute time, Stasha, it would be best, it worked out that Stasha was able to stay with a friend for her last year of high school. Now, Stasha, friend Danae, or what's her name? Deanna's father, Dave. At first, I was a little put off by him. He has those long mustache. But he had a story that once Stasha got ready for a date, and she looked really pretty, and a boy was out, I guess, in his car, pulled up and honked the horn for her to come on down and meet him. And Dave said, oh no, he needs to come up here, and he needs to, respect you enough to greet you and bring you to the car. So the boy came to the house and spoke to Dave. And Dave said the boy brought Stasha home a half hour earlier. And they think it's because of the conversation that he had with the boy. The boy knew that there was a man, a father figure in the house waiting for Stasha to come home. I was so touched by his story. First, I was a little put off by him, and then I just fell in love with him because I love the story, because it gave Stasha, who doesn't have a father, her father in her life, this man stepped in, showed her how a man should treat you, and she felt safe and secure. And I don't know if she realized it in the moment, but she definitely realizes it now. And it meant a lot. And I'm just so happy she's had that experience in her life. I don't know why that brought me to tears. I think I'm happy for her that she just had a father figure showing her what a father should do in his daughter's life. It was just very touching for me. I just loved it. Okay, let's go on to the final couple. Okay, the last couple is Alexis and Justin. So we kind of see them at first starting out where they left off last week at the dinner, and they had a blow up and they went their separate ways. and Justin was out on the street with one of the producers. So in this episode, it really actually opened up with them meeting on the street outside, where they were eating as a group. And they were talking about their issues, and basically they kind of got through to one another. They kind of saw each other's point of view, and they hugged it out. So it looked like they were back on the same page anyway. Thereafter, we saw them meet with Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper comes over. It's so cute because little Dr. Pepper being greeted by big old Justin. It's like it takes two Dr. Peppers. You can stack two of her on top of each other for her to probably see him at his eye level. They sat down and talked, and it was an emotional day, this particular day of her visit. And Alexis and Justin are sitting on the couch. And of course, here we go, waterworks. We get Justin kind of crying again. He said he couldn't talk. He wanted Alexis to talk for him. She said, they had bad news. They just received some bad news about Justin's dog, Myra, I think her name is, that she's not doing well at training. She's very hostile, and not ready to come back. And it looks like she's going to have to live somewhere else. And that is Justin's baby, his first dog. I think he said he had her for 7 years. And you could see it's just weighing on his little heart. And maybe this is the reason why we've seen him kind of low for the last couple of episodes. I think he's doing the right thing by her by letting her go somewhere else. But of course, that hurts and it shows. And I guess deep down, Alexis is happy because her dog and her are staying put. Dr. Pepper asked about, the hostility that Alexis felt towards Justin. And she said she decided she didn't want to hurt anymore, so she forgave him. They talked about also that Alexis is an alpha personality, but she's sensitive. He's noticed she's an alpha woman, but she's still sensitive. And to her, strength meant when you're strong, and to be strong means you can't be sensitive. That's how she was raised and taught to believe. You have to stay strong. You cannot be sensitive. And she doesn't like vulnerability. I think she thinks it gives other people power. And I see her point when people say, let your walls down, be vulnerable. Because the reason why they're not is because when you do let someone in your space, into your heart, a lot of times these people don't take care of your heart and they're reckless with it and they shatter your heart. Even if you can pick the pieces back together, it's like it's like a glass and you break it and you put it together. Yeah, it looks seemingly put together, but it's shattered and there's probably some rough edges. And I think people who've just gotten away with hurting other people, when you do that, these people are left hurt. Sometimes they can never recover. And if they can recover, it's a slow process. And of course, nobody wants to feel it again. So they're very protective of their heart. And it's a shame that, there's so many bad people out there that will do you wrong, and that we're missing out. You could be missing out on a person who would take care of your heart, but you just can't let them in because it's just a trust issue. You got to be take your time with it. I understand her, and clearly she's hurt, but at least she has the words and she knows what she's capable of. And Alexis knows she has the wording. She can talk about her feelings. And she knows where she's at. I think she has a good sense of herself, and I give her credit for that. I give her credit to having the language to speak on her feelings, even the things that she won't speak on and why she won't speak on. I love that she's in touch with herself that way. So she's not completely closed off. She's not a closed off person. I think she's a little harsh in some areas, but a lot of times she has said some thought provoking, interesting things, and that I give her credit for. They did show each other an activity or a place of their past, and Justin took her to a park where he played basketball, where he lived close by and raised by his brother. I think he was 13 and his brother was 19. Now he said he got old-fashioned spankings from his brother, and he thinks that those spankings has helped him as a man. I'm not sure how he means. I don't know how a spanking helped him in particular. They had an activity. He likes to fly kites. That's interesting. And he was flying a kite with Alexis. I don't think she really wanted to do it, but they were flying a kite, and his kite got caught in a tree, and I thought that was so kind of funny because he calls himself Tree, and it got caught in a tree. And I thought, my goodness, he's so tall. It seems like you could just hop, skip, and jump and get that kite out of the tree. But I really like Justin as a person. I mean, that's not someone I could ever date. But as a person, I think he's just a soft man. He has a good heart. He's a decent human being from what I can see. Now, Alexa, she went and brought Justin to a basketball court where they played basketball, and she was a tomboy, and we've seen that in the beginning of the whole season. She likes to play football, she likes to play basketball, and she enjoys those things. She sat down at the park and read her letter, and she explained how she's hyper independent, and a lot of women are, especially when there's no men around. They have to do for themselves. Nobody can do for them. And I wonder why so many women are hyper independent and that can't ask for help. You know, I guess are you scared that someone will say no when you ask for help? You will be looked at less than, like something's wrong with you or talked about. That's a shame. It's just people are in positions they don't really necessarily have to be in if they just ask for a little helping hand. Now, she did say something in her letter to herself. She told herself it's okay to be soft and strong. And I thought that was a great message to oneself. Again, I like a lot of things that this girl says. It seems like she's done some work on herself and it's been to some therapy. I just don't know if it's going to help her in her marriage. She's too, what's the word? She's too maybe stuck in her ways and not letting somebody else's ways enter her space. And I think Dr. Pepper said that to one of the other couples, to make room for other people and the way they think. And I think Alexis does that, but even when she does it, it has to be the way she thinks it should be done. And I think that's the problem that she has. I thought this was a good episode. A lot of good messages were out there. Of course, Morgan and Ben, mainly Morgan. It was just a waste of our time. Well, that is it for now. Thank you for staying to the end. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and I thank you in advance. I gotta go because I got living to do. Bye.